Here's the conversation you were never given. Let me just guess how this might have gone. You did a sleep study. You got a diagnosis. You got a number. You're handed a machine or a device, and that was it. No one sat down and explained what that number actually means for you, your body, and the other 16 hours of your day when you're not in bed sleeping. No one explained what is happening inside your airway, your nervous system, your chemistry. No one explained why this is just going to be your new life. And no one explained that you have options. You were handed a management tool, a life support system, but not understanding, not strategy, not rehabilitation. I've been in this field a long time, and I've watched thousands of people walk through my door here in my New York City office, exhausted, scared, confused, frustrated, some angry, some resigned, most thinking this is just how it's going to be now for the rest of my life. I'm not here to attack CPAP because CPAP saves lives. It can stabilize oxygen and it can definitely reduce risk. But here's the part that you were never told. Sleep apnea is not just a mask problem. It is a system problem. It is an airway stability problem, a tongue posture problem, a muscle tone problem, a breathing chemistry problem, a nervous system problem. All of that. And if you never rebuild the broken system, your destiny will be to manage it forever. That's true. You can strap the mask on every night for the rest of your life. You can tinker with it. You can escalate the pressures. You can upgrade devices. You can try it out. You can engineer this as a biological issue. Or you can ask a different question. Why did this happen in the first place? That's my question. Today we're going to talk honestly, not hype, not miracle cures, because I don't have a miracle cure. There's no fantasy here. It's just what's real, what we're doing with my patients. And when you see this whole landscape clearly, you'll understand that because whether anyone told you or not, you're standing at a crossroad and pretending you're not. And that's still a choice. My name is Dr. Doug Willen. For 27 years, I've been in practice here in New York City. I've handled over 4,000 airway and breathing cases. I did not wander into this niche because it was trendy. I got here because patients kept showing up exhausted, jaw tension, neck tension, snoring that would shake the walls, anxiety that would not just shut off, brain fog, sleep studies that looked catastrophic on paper, and basically lives that felt even worse in reality. About 5 years ago, my work narrowed. It got intensified. Inside my office, I began focusing heavily on a technique called cranial facial release, CFR. A small balloon is inserted into the nasal passageway. I inflate it rapidly. People will feel pressure, the expansion, the movement, sometimes big loud cracks or little cracks. Often there's an immediate rush of air. There are 22 movable bones in the face and skull, and they make up to 64 different articulations and joints. And they're not fused. They're not just blocks of concrete. They are living structures designed to flex, respond, and adapt. And when those structures are restricted, the airway narrows. And when they regain mobility, when you crack them, space can change. People began flying in from all over the world. We posted videos. The videos went viral. More than 25 videos crossed 1 million views. One video I have on Instagram reached 68 million views. Across platforms, I now have 1.7 million followers and over 500 million views. CFR put me on the map internationally. Structurally, airway mechanics matters. Cases that had failed, everything else started to get improvement. And recently I published my new book, Apnea Unmasked. It's about this work that I do and what I've seen in thousands of cases about what becomes possible when you stop managing sleep apnea like a life sentence and start treating it like rehabilitation. But here's what changed everything. After thousands of breathing cases, I started seeing a pattern, and this pattern I couldn't ignore. This is not structural first, it's regulation first. It's chemistry, it's nervous system, it's CO2 tolerance, it's breathing volume. And the structure matters, but regulation drives the system. And once you see that, you cannot unsee it. I'm not guessing here. I've lived in the trenches on this. Most people think sleep apnea is rare, but that's actually a myth. It's not true. Rare means fewer than 200,000 people have a disease. Sleep apnea affects 25 to 30 million adults in the United States alone. That is diagnosed. Globally, the number is estimated at 900 million adults between the ages of 30 and 69. 900 million. That's almost a billion. And here's the part that should just make you stop and think. 80 to 90% of cases are actually undiagnosed. That means tens of millions of people are walking around exhausted, hypertensive, anxious, foggy, thinking they're just stressed about aging and feeling unlucky that they have this diagnosis. This is not rare. It's an epidemic hiding in plain sight. Roughly 1 in 5 adults has at least mild sleep apnea. 1 in 15 has moderate to severe disease. Sleep apnea is as common as asthma. It's actually as common as type 2 diabetes right now. But culturally, it's treated like a fringe condition for overweight old men. That's what we think of as the stereotype, right? Overweight old men are the only people that get it. But this is not fringe, this is systemic. So why does this myth keep surviving? Because, well, mostly because apnea is invisible. You don't remember choking at night. You don't feel the oxygen dips in real time. You just wake up tired. And what do? You blame your schedule because, well, we're making snoring not be a big deal. That's a funny punchline, right? When someone snores, but it's actually a warning sign because sleep apnea as a name, it sounds like a minor sleeping inconvenience. That's what it sounds like to me, but it's not. It's a repetitive stress injury to your airway and nervous system. It is nightly oxygen instability. It is cardiovascular strain. It is metabolic disruption. It is brain stress. And if 25 million people had knee instability, for example, we would build rehabilitation centers for knees on every corner. We would talk about mechanics of the knee and retraining. But for apnea, we hand out machines and we just hope that people comply and stick to it. No structured airway retraining is even available that I know of. No breathing chemistry education, no muscle conditioning plan. You just get a device. Good luck. That should bother you. Sleep apnea is not rare. It's common. It's just underdiagnosed and it's massively undertreated from rehabilitation point of view. The only rare thing about sleep apnea is how rarely it's approached as something that's trainable. Here's the thing. Sleep apnea does not start at 2:17 in the morning. It starts at 9:30 in the morning when you sit at your desk with your mouth open. It starts when you sigh every few minutes without you even realizing it. It starts when you overbreathe every time you're under stress. It starts when your chest lifts instead of your diaphragm. It starts when your tongue rests low in your mouth all day. It starts when your nervous system never gets to downshift. Nighttime is the exposure. Sleep is actually the stress test. But the dysfunction, it's already there. The breathing instability, it's there all day. The CO2 sensitivity is happening all day. The airway muscles are weak, they're underused, they're poorly conditioned while you're awake. They don't suddenly become limp at night. When you fall asleep, that extra muscle tone disappears. And whatever stability you did not build during the day, now it's revealed at night. Most people are taught to think of apnea as an 8-hour problem while you're sleeping. You just need to put the mask on. You survive the night. You take it off. You forget about it until bedtime. You put the mask back on again. You get through another night. You lie down. Every time you lie down, your muscle tone drops. Compensation disappears. Your instability shows itself. You cannot breathe in efficiently for 16 hours and expect structural stability when you fall asleep. What you do during the day matters. Apnea is not just a nighttime collapse. It's a daytime regulation failure. It's a failure that expresses itself most dramatically at night. The night affects the day affects the night. It's a loop. If all you do is survive the night, you live the same physiology over and over again. Like Groundhog's Day. You wake up and you have the same day again. You go to sleep, you have the same night again. But once you understand that this is a 24-hour regulation problem, the strategy can change. You stop asking, how do I survive tonight? And you start asking, how do I restore function today? You train stability by day. That's what we do. You reveal this stability at night. That shift changes everything. I want to give you a comparison that makes this whole conversation really click, and that would be type 2 diabetes. Because millions of people live with type 2 diabetes worldwide. Diabetes overall is now estimated at about 589 million adults globally. Now, sleep apnea is estimated at 900 million worldwide. That's a bigger number, almost double. More people have sleep apnea than type 2 diabetes. Did you know that? I didn't know it. But now here's the key point. A person with type 2 diabetes is usually offered a path that sounds like this. Okay, you have type 2 diabetes. You're going to take metformin. You might have to add more medication over the years, maybe add some insulin later. We're going to keep track of your numbers. We're going to manage it forever. That's the same as the device compliance model we get with sleep apnea. You have sleep apnea, be on this device, we'll manage it for years. But in the last decade, another truth has gotten louder for the type 2 diabetes person, that if the right person puts in the real work, lifestyle, nutrition, weight loss, training, sleep even, stress regulation, there's an evidence that remission is possible for some people with type 2 diabetes. Not magic, not a cure, but a measurable shift where their hemoglobin A1C drops below the diabetes threshold. And studies have been showing that from 46 to as high as 80% of people that put that change in can turn their diagnosis around. That if they apply themselves, they can make a change. So there's two lanes really. Either you manage it with medication or you can rebuild it. And your training and lifestyle matters. So that's the frame I want you to bring into sleep apnea, because sleep apnea has the same split. Most people are told that the diabetes lane version, that lane 1, is the same as apnea. But here you get a diagnosis, here's your device, now just stick with it. But what if apnea is more like diabetes than you were ever told? What if it's actually a condition that could be managed with equipment, but also for many people, a condition where function can improve when you address the drivers and you train the system and you fix the broken stuff. Here's the part that really bends your brain though. So when someone tells you just wear the machine forever, I'm not offended by that. I understand why they say that. But what I am offended by is what they don't say. And they don't tell you that there's a second lane, not a fantasy lane, not a cure lane, a rehabilitation lane where we work on airway mechanics. Yeah, that's what we do. But we also work on breathing volume, CO2 tolerance, tongue and throat tone, nasal breathing, nervous system regulation, daily training. That's the other lane. I built the breathing gym for one simple reason. No one was supervising apnea rehabilitation. Most people with sleep apnea get a diagnosis and a device. Then they're sent home to figure it out alone. There's no coach, there's no training plan, there's no progression model, there's no feedback loop, just compliance, do as you're told, wear the machine. And if the patient struggles, they assume they're broken. The breathing gym is the opposite of that. It's not biohacking, it's not gadgets, it's not dopamine hits and novelty. It's not a new toy every week, it's rehab. It's almost boring. You show up, you train, you build tolerance, you strengthen airway control, you retrain breathing volume, you condition the tongue, the throat, and facial muscles that stabilize the airway. You work on the stuff that's not working. You calm the nervous system so it stops living on a hair trigger. And it takes a lot of time. Minimum 6 months. A lot of patients a year. Anyone promising faster is selling you a big, huge bag of bullcrap because they're confusing symptom relief with rehabilitation. This is like physical therapy for the airway. You would not rehab a knee in a weekend. You would not rebuild strength after surgery in 10 days. You would not expect tendon tissue to remodel because you just watched some video and miraculously it's better. No, you need repetition, you need progression, you need supervision. This is what this is. I'm in the gym every day answering questions, adjusting the drills. I'm guiding people when they plateau. We're helping them course correct when motivation drops or symptoms flare, because the real issue is not lack of information. The internet is drowning with information. You can find little exercises to do. The problem is that no one's there to watch your form, to adjust your dosage and keep your training continuing when the honeymoon phase wears off. Breathing gym that I have is supervised training. I'm there every day. This is why it works, and I want this to be accessible. Some people want full access, the boot camps, the live training, the deeper protocols. I have it. Other people are not ready for that yet. They just need to get inside the room, get into the community, start training, start tracking wins. So there is also community level membership, a lower barrier entry point where you can get support, structure, daily accountability without having to jump in straight into the deep end. And if you want more, you can upgrade. If life gets busy, you could drop back down or downgrade without disappearing. There's no contracts. That matters because churn is not failure. Churn is often just life. Let me be really clear on this. This is for people who want agency. This is for people who are tired of outsourcing their biology entirely to machines, medications, and doctor appointments. This is for people who are willing to practice, not obsessively, not perfectly, but definitely consistently. This is for people who understand that biology adapts slowly. Muscles will strengthen slowly. Nervous systems regulate slowly. CO2 tolerance improves slowly. Airway stability builds gradually. There's no drama in that. That's just discipline. That's what that is. This is for people who can zoom out a little bit and think in terms more of months, not days, who can say, even if this takes 6 months to a year and the payoff is better sleep, better cognition, lower stress, and possibly less device dependence, meaning getting off the device, then that would be worth it. This is not for people looking for a miracle, not for people who want to do 3 drills twice and declare it ineffective, not for people who want transformation without repetition, not for people who blame the world, the mask, the doctor, their genetics, and avoid putting in any effort at all. Biology responds to stimulus. If you don't apply stimulus, nothing adapts. And let me say something important. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to train every single day without missing one. You don't need a monk level discipline. You need consistency. You need to show up more often than you disappear. You need to train enough that your airway begins to recognize a new normal. You get a reset at night. You need to regulate your breathing enough that your nervous system stops living in a constant alarm. You need to stack small adaptations. This is buildable, it's trainable. This is for adults, for people who understand that responsibility is not punishment. It's actually power. Because if you want someone to fix you while you watch, this is not it. If you want to participate in your own rehabilitation, you're in the right place. This is not about perfection. It's about ownership. And ownership changes outcomes. I don't promise getting people off CPAP, although we've gotten a lot of people off CPAP machine and the other mouth devices and everything. It's about people that want to do as much as they possibly can on that journey to see how far they can take their body and see what's possible. I only guarantee supporting the training. We don't know what your human body's going to do, but it definitely won't have a chance if you don't try. So now we need to clear a little bit of the fog, because part of the reason this conversation never happens is that a few powerful myths stay in place. And some of them sound reasonable, like here's one. CPAP fixes apnea. It does not. It manages the collapse. That's important. That matters. CPAP is a pneumatic splint. It uses pressure to hold the airway open while you sleep. It works. It's awesome. It can stabilize oxygen. It can reduce events. It can lower risks. But it does not retrain your breathing. It does not strengthen your airway muscles. It does not improve CO2 tolerance. It does not calm a hyper-reactive nervous system. It is a management tool. It is life support. And management is not the same as rehabilitation. That's the dilemma, because it works. And because it works, no one asks what else could improve, right? So here's another myth. Snoring is harmless. Is that true? No, it's not true. Snoring is instability warming up. It's a vibration from a narrowing airway. It is the tissue turbulence. It is the early warning system that most people ignore. Before it becomes severe, it becomes noisy. Snoring is not cute. It's not just annoying, it's a signal. All right, so here's another one. Sleep apnea is about not getting enough air. This one surprises people. Most apnea patients breathe too much during the day. They're overbreathers. They overbreathe when they're under stress. They mouth breathe. They sigh frequently. They take large, fast breaths without realizing it. Fast breathing lowers your CO2 tolerance. It's something we teach. And carbon dioxide is not the villain. Carbon dioxide stabilizes the airway. It helps regulate smooth muscle tone. It influences how tightly the airway stays supported. It helps control the breathing reflex. At night, CO2 rises normally, should happen during sleep. That is normal physiology. But if your brain has become hypersensitive to rising CO2, it panics early. It triggers microarousals, which means you wake up. It tightens muscles abruptly. It fragments your sleep. So what looks like an oxygen problem often starts as a chemistry regulation problem. It is CO2 tolerance issue before it's an oxygen deprivation issue. That does not mean that oxygen does not matter. It means that oxygen drops are often downstream of the bigger problem. The upstream issue is instability, nervous system instability, chemistry instability. And if you're only treating the collapse with a CPAP, but never train the regulation issues, the system never really fully adapts. Okay, so enough philosophy. Now let me show you something simple. Right now we'll do something with tongue placement. Your tongue should be resting on the roof of your mouth. Not jammed hard, not forced, just light suction. The entire tongue up, not just the tip, lips closed. Teeth slightly apart, no clenching. That position will stabilize the airway. Now pause for a second. Where's your tongue right now? If you're not eating or talking, it should be up all day long. Those are the only two exceptions, eating or talking. Otherwise, it belongs on the palate. Why? Because a lazy tongue can either be the bodyguard or the bum. The bum lies down in the doorway, blocking it. That's what tongues do when they're limp. They collapse backwards. They're obstructing the space. But the bodyguard type of tongue stands upright, alert, supporting the doorway, protecting the airway from collapse. Same muscle, two roles. Most adults walk around all day with the bum as their tongue. Low tongue, open mouth, passive airway. Then they lie down at night and wonder why it collapses. Now, breathing. Inhale quietly through your nose. Let it be soft. Exhale through your nose. Now reduce the volume. Don't breathe as much. Don't inflate your chest. Don't take big dramatic breaths. Let it be small. Let it be subtle. That's the type of training we do during the day to get a reset at night. You calm it down. Your body does not need as much air as you think it does, because overbreathing lowers your carbon dioxide, and carbon dioxide is not waste, it's a regulator. CO2 tolerance is your ability to remain calm when carbon dioxide rises. Don't worry, we teach this. When tolerance improves, your brain stops panicking at night. It stops triggering early arousals. It stops overreacting to normal sleep chemistry. It allows muscle tone to remain more stable. And if your brain is hypersensitive to CO2, it treats normal rises as a threat. It hits the alarm button. That's called fragmentation. That is instability. So we train tolerance. We train calm breathing. We train the tongue to live where it belongs, on the palate. That's not complicated, but it's not automatic. It's simple, but not easy. It's trainable. And if you practice this during the day, you're not just passing time, you're changing what happens at 2:17 in the morning when your body has a snoring or an apnea episode. This stuff works. We train by day to get a reset at night. Let me give you a real life example. I want to use my friend Nick. She lives in Munich. She's in her 60s. She's a close friend, like I said, and you'll see her name in the acknowledgments of my book. She's not a paid testimonial. She's doing this work. And when she was finally tested for sleep apnea, the numbers were not subtle. Her AHI score was 49. Now, AHI stands for Apnea Hypopnea Index. It measures how many times per hour you either completely stop breathing or you partially obstruct your breathing during sleep, which is also not good. 49 events per hour, severe obstructive sleep apnea. Nearly once a minute. Her oxygen saturation also dropped to 74%. Now, healthy adults typically will average between 95 and 98% at night. It may dip slightly during deeper sleep, but rarely below 93. Anything under 90 is abnormal. It's not good. 74% is not a mild dip. It is severe oxygen deprivation. Some of her apnea events lasted nearly 30 seconds. Picture just standing bedside and watching a person stop breathing for half a minute. No airflow, no chest movement, then a violent gasp, hour after hour. And here's the part most people skip. Nick had a stroke that she suffered. So for her, CPAP was not optional. It was medically essential. She started CPAP in January of 2024. The machine worked. Her events dropped quickly. Stabilization matters. That's good. She also made major lifestyle changes. Nutrition improved. Her hydration improved. She lost weight. She ultimately chose to even get bariatric surgery and lost 36 kilograms. And now that's awesome. Now you might be listening to this and you're thinking, well, it's because of the weight loss. But weight loss does not retrain the tongue. It does not automatically restore airway muscle tone. It does not automatically regulate a dysregulated nervous system. Rehabilitation still matters. Now, after surgery and medical stabilization, her AHI improved from severe into moderate. That's great. But moderate sleep apnea is still sleep apnea. So 3 months after surgery, while still using CPAP, she began structured exhale method training inside my breathing gym. Not for 12 weeks. Nick's goal was simple. How far can I improve my physiology if I train consistently? 6 months in, she did her first sleep study without the CPAP machine on, 12.4 events per hour. Oxygen 95%. That is a massive shift from 49 events and oxygen dropping into the 70s. 9 months in, she repeated the test without the CPAP. Now she's at 7.4 events per hour, oxygen holding at 98, and her doctors are considering maybe taking her off the machine now. We don't know what's gonna happen, but this is pretty cool. She's in the process. So check this out. She moved from severe into mild, approaching the 5 event threshold below which doctors no longer will diagnose obstructive sleep apnea. Not because the exhale method replaced medical care. That's not what I'm talking about. It's because it completed the rehabilitation. Her daytime breathing improved. Her jaw tension softened. Nervous system steadied. She remains under careful supervision with her German medical team. The conversation now has shifted towards a supervised trial off CPAP. That might happen. She may come fully off the machine. She may not. That's not the point. Her oxygen no longer crashes into the 70s dozens of times per night, a range considered medically dangerous. She's no longer living in nightly crisis. Her trajectory changed. That's what matters. Did the exhale method solve everything by itself? No, it was never meant to. She worked on all fronts: medical care, surgery, lifestyle, training. That's rehabilitation. Not miracles, not hype, trajectory, consistency, practice. Nick is healthier now than she's been in years. And she's not doing this alone. If you join the breathing gym, you'll meet her. She's there every day. She shows up, she trains, she supports, she asks questions. She's in there. She stays in the work. Here's what her journey clarified for me. No matter what path you choose, rehabilitation still belongs in the equation. Did you get the Inspire implant? You still need to train. Are you on CPAP? You need to train. Are you on BiPAP? You still need to train. Are you using a mouth device or a jaw device or a certain type of, yes, you still need to train. Are you the type of person that rips your mask off at 2 a.m? Well, then you definitely need to train because you can't ignore this. Do you snore so loud that your partner can't be in the same room with you? Then you need to train. Like I said, you need to train because devices will stabilize, but rehabilitation transforms. And that's the difference. And then there's Brad. Brad is my daughter's best friend from college. 30 years old, just diagnosed with sleep apnea. He's on a nasal pillow type of CPAP. It's very minimal, it's clean, less intrusive than a full mask. It just fits in the nose. He's young, he's fit, he's smart, his whole life ahead of him. It feels like a tale of two cities though, doesn't it? Nick is in her 60s after a stroke. Brad at 30, just starting really adulthood. Different decades, same diagnosis. Now, let's be honest, if Brad lives to 90, that means 60 years on a device. 60 years. You think his airway will strengthen on its own? You think breathing patterns improve automatically with age? Or do muscle tone decline? Stress accumulate, independence deepen. Maybe he never escalates, maybe he does. From nasal pillows to full CPAP, from CPAP to APAP, from APAP to BiPAP, would you bet it never gets worse over 6 decades? I would not. And let's talk real life here. Brad is not married yet. The first sleepover, the first shared bed, the hum of a machine, the hose, the headgear. Some partners are supportive. Some are indifferent. Some quietly resent it. This is not about shame, it's about trajectory. So what would I tell Brad? I would tell him stabilize first. Use the device right now because you need it. You protect your brain and your heart. Then you start rehabilitation. Take this as far as you can go. Apnea rehab. Strengthen the tongue. Improve CO2 tolerance. Train the airway. Regulate the nervous system. Not in 2 weeks. It might take 2 years. At 30 years old, that's nothing. He trains for 2 years and then clears himself for 60? If he can reduce the severity, build muscle tone, improve regulation, why would he not try? And here's the bigger question. You may be 30, you may be 60, somewhere in between. I don't know, we haven't met perhaps. No matter what path you choose, rehabilitation still belongs in the equation. Device or no device, stability still needs to be trained. So what do you tell yourself right now? You're gonna just manage this forever with a device or a CPAP, or are you gonna stabilize maybe and then rebuild? That choice is not rebellion, it's trajectory. Nick changed hers, Brad still has 60 years of runway. What do you want yours to look like? It does not matter where you're starting. Maybe you're already sleeping with a machine, maybe you're using an oral appliance or device, maybe you're white knuckling it and pretending the snoring is harmless. Maybe you have central events and feel confused about what that even means. Maybe your doctor has hinted that a device, it's gonna be in your future. Different entry points, right? Same truth. Your airway still needs conditioning. Your breathing chemistry still needs regulation. Your nervous system still needs stability. Support is not the same as strength. Management is not the same as adaptation. You can coexist with apnea, many people do, or you can decide to see what your system is capable of. That decision is the line in the sand. It's not rebellion. You're not a medical heretic. It's not defiance. It's simply rehabilitation. 6 months at minimum, a year is more realistic. That's not traumatic. That's how tissue remodels. That is how tolerance improves. That is how regulation becomes automatic instead of forced. You don't need perfection, you need repetition. You don't need to throw away your device. Stay on it. You don't need to stop outsourcing your entire physiology to it though. And if you want a structured way to train your airway, retrain your breathing, and build real stability, I will show you how. No hype, no shortcuts, just the work. And the question is no longer whether apnea is real. The question is whether you're ready to train.